Number one show in late night. You know what it is? Nothing but illustrious guests. Mero, who do we have in the building today?
Today we have the most illustrious, one of your favorite comedians, Jon Stewart, ladies and gentlemen, in the building. Y'all make some motherfucking noise. Ha ha!
That's right.
I want to point out I'm not in the building.
He's not in the building.
Oh yeah, you're in your building.
I'm in my attic.
He's in his
building.
You're in your attic. All right. You guys stop the fake news. Stop doing that. You know, you guys got to report truth.
Don't you like this though? Isn't there something about this that you like? You know, I was doing the Zoom call with like 5 other people. Being able to see into people's homes, it actually makes it's. I find it makes the conversation much more intimate. You learn more about people. You get to see them in their real lives. I actually sort of like this, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a recluse to begin with. But I like looking at your houses is kind of a window into you guys that you normally have.
It lets you peer into people's souls. But here's my question: have you ever been in a Zoom meeting and something in someone's background makes you a little nervous? Like too many plants, not enough plants, maybe just the situation that they have in their background. I don't want to name any cast members, anybody on our staff, but somebody on our staff, it looks like they are in the bottom of a haunted house. And we've had to ask them to turn off their Zoom camera sometimes.
For me, it's angles.
Yeah.
Generally, I can handle, but sometimes you'll get somebody who'll give you like one of these.
Yeah. Oh, that's the worst. The I'm looking at myself guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, John. So what's going on?
Or they'll have that weird angle where they're down like this, and there's just only darkness around them, and you're like,
yes.
Are you in Buffalo Bill's cellar? Like, why?
What's going on with the light there, my God?
What's going on with the light?
What's on the lotion?
But you've got opportunity there. You know, you've got opportunity for surprises. You're like a sneaker automat.
Oh,
you could have all kind. You could have the sneakers lined up, but then one of them could just be a grilled cheese sandwich. I mean, there's so many things you can do.
I was thinking about that. Might just put some snacks back here. Anything's possible. Maybe just put some eggs. Just snack on things while we're eating. John, okay. You know, you had a little thing called the Daily Show, an amazing cultural event. Now, we were just on hiatus while everything was going on, the George Floyd, the protests, like Corona and everything. And I remember I used to religiously watch your show. And I remember when Hurricane Katrina struck, you guys were on hiatus. What was that feeling like? Was it like a feeling of sense of hopelessness, or did you, because like we're coming back, when we come back, we know we have to talk about everything that happened when we were off the air. How did you reconcile that? Like, what was it like to know that you had to, like, in that one episode, basically cover everything that happened while you were off the air?
Sometimes it would work in your favor. And I don't know how you guys process, you know, the more difficult stuff. Because, you know, like, for instance, with Katrina, when we were off, you had a chance to process it and digest it in a way that maybe took a little bit of the horror and depression out of your soul so that you could maybe process a little bit. But there were times like after Charleston or Eric Garner or Ferguson where you'd be on the next night or that night where I remember the Charlie Hebdo massacre
in France.
And you'd come on that night and you hadn't had a chance to process it yet. And it was just, you would just have to be raw, and you didn't have, you know, so much of what you guys do and what we did was it's a refinery, and you're taking in sometimes relatively toxic materials and you're trying to put them through this refinery and bring them out in a way that's meaningful to you guys, but still has some inspiration and kind of joy to it.
Right.
But boy, there were some of those moments when you had to go right on, where you just couldn't muster it, and it was just raw, like a big soul-sucking sadness.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We talk about all the time, we feel personally responsible for giving people that look like us a break, right? Because the essential workers, all those people, like, at the end of the day, we want to tell you what's going on in the world, but we also want to give you that little piece of like, okay, whew, all right, these are my guys, I'm gonna chuckle with them and then get back into levity. The fray.
Yeah.
Right. Listen, I know that burden and the onus that puts on you. The only thing I would say is, like, you're doing it, and forgive yourselves. Like, in those moments where you feel like that you have to elevate them, know that that's what you're doing. That's what your show is. You don't have to contrive it or overly process that. Like, that's who you guys are. That's what this show is. So you're always doing that. So I always felt like I tried to forgive myself for not being able to, the instinct is you want to solve it. The instinct is you want what you do to matter to the better of it. And you kind of have to reconcile that, there is a role for what we do, but it's not one of transformation.
Right.
Transformation is work. That's on the street. That's, over a generation. That's going into the minds. But there is a function for it and there's a value in it, but it's not, I wouldn't place the burden of that. That's a lot to carry. And just know that the thing that you are concerned about wanting to do for the community, you're doing. Your presence, the way you conduct the show, the way you carry yourself, you're doing it. So it's, mission accomplished.
Hey, thank you. And you mean that in a good way, not in the George Bush on the ship way, right?
I definitely do not mean that in the George Bush on the ship. Isn't it sad that you can't even use the phrase mission accomplished
anymore? You can't.
Can I tell you something? It's like Hitler's mustache. Like at a certain point, there are probably other guys with that mustache going like, are you fucking kidding me?
Bro, I've had this for 20 years.
This works on my face so well, and now I got to go handlebar.
Yeah.
I'm like that red hats. If I see a red hat now, I'm like,
absolutely.
What's going on here?
From far away, you try to make out the letters and then you move strategically.
Listen, I was that way anyway. As a New York Mets fan, St. Louis Cardinals, I was always on the lookout for those anyway.
That's fair.
Also, as a New Yorker, the Red Berets of the Guardian Angels of New York City.
You never know when you want that picture. Curtis Lee was in the foreground.
Can I tell you how furious I was that I graduated from high school? Shout out to DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx. And he was the speaker. Out of all the people, Stan Lee graduated from there.
Wow. That's kind of disappointing.
Ralph Lauren, all these people. They got Curtis fucking Slewa to do the address at my graduation.
Really?
I'll never forgive you.
You know what? My mom went to George Washington. She went to George Washington High School. I know.
Hey.
Yeah. But she wasn't a speaker. You didn't want to hear from her. She probably would have just told you guys to, eat a little better and call more.
Call more often.
It would have been an entire graduation speech about the value of calling more often.
John, have you had a colonoscopy?
Oh my God. My colonoscopy canal is like the entrance to the George Washington Bridge. Like,
because he's got the easy pass.
So my dad got one, and we were talking about it because I'm supposed to get one because I have diverticulosis. I just
yes.
Recently meaning like a year ago. And my dad went and got his colonoscopy, and apparently you have to drink a drink and then they blow air up your ass. Is that?
Well, they have to blow air.
That's what I'm saying.
They want to get your ass's good side, so they have to blow air in it so that you're giving.
It's like the Beyonce fan for your ass.
That's exactly right. And oddly enough, I do have flowing hair back there, so it's
same.
It's quite
upset. Showtime, so I can.
Exactly. But you're out. You're on like propofol or whatever, so you just wake up, and it's just the best sleep you ever had for a half hour. Like it's relatively chill. It used to be.
Yeah, you used to be able
gallons.
Because I had one. Way back when I was like 20, and I had for 3 days. You have to drink that Fleet, and then you can drink a soup, and then they allowed me to stay awake during it, and they let me watch, and it was like one of the worst shows I've ever watched. There was no plot, it was just going down my canal.
They let you stay awake to watch your own colonoscopy?
Yeah, on the screen. It was, and I was just like, and he was like, "That's a polyp," and I was like, "Okay, I'll Google that later. I don't know what that means, but thank you." So
you were like, "Is this Cloverfield? What is this? What am I watching?"
I didn't TiVo it, but I was watching it
like the Blair Witch Project, where the doctor just sat there going, "I'm so scared.
Oh my God, I'm so scared."
Yes, John, you are a Mets fan through and through.
Yes.
What's going on with the people buying the Mets? Are you excited? Because we're getting all these rumors. We had the rumor of A-Rod and J-Lo possibly coming in. Now we got the big billionaire guys coming in. The Wilpons said they're going to sell.
Yeah.
Are you believing this? Because we're Knicks fans, so we understand what you're going through as a Mets fan. You know what I mean? We know.
And you're also a Knicks fan too. That's why you made that face. Yeah.
I'm a Knicks fan. I'm a Mets fan. This has been just decades of bonkers. You guys don't even remember. You weren't alive for the glory years. You weren't alive for the Frazier and Earl the Pearl and Willis Reed and Dave DeBusschere and
we weren't alive for that, but you have to remember, as Knicks fans, anytime they do highlights, that's all we have to watch. Anytime they're like here, watch Walk Like Frazier and maybe some Linsanity. That's it. That's all we got. So,
that's right. You get those 3 days of Linsanity.
Exactly.
You drilled a couple of impossible threes, and everybody was like, "I'd say let's just build the team around this kid." Why not?
I was like, listen, I was like, let's rename Madison Square Garden. It's his building now.
That's right. It is absolutely his building. It's, and part of the issue for those teams is just the way they end up losing, or the way they end up, or like, when you get a banger like Cespedes, and then he gets hurt chasing a wild boar, and you're just like, that's not a thing that happens to people.
By far, baseball guys get the weirdest injuries.
Right?
They're like, Aroldis Chapman broke his arm playing backyard hockey with his nephew. Like, what? What were you doing?
There was a pitcher, Trevor Bauer, who pitching in the World Series. Like, I can't pitch tonight. What happened? A drone accident. You're like, a drone accident?
How? What are you, Enrique Iglesias? What do you mean drone accident?
Why do you have a drone going when you're in the World Series? Like, but for the Mets, it would always be, they would sign a guy who was, he had such great years with the Pirates, it's going to be great. And then he comes to the Mets and like breaks his chin. And you're like, I didn't think the chin was a breakable thing.
Yes. And then to add insult to injury, the Mets would do some sort of weird press release where they're just like, hey, he hurt himself, but he didn't injure his chin. And you're just like, why did you say he didn't injure his chin? And he'll be back
in a week.
Yeah. And you're
and
like,
3 years later, they're like, actually, it was a tick bite, and he is now allergic to meat. And you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah. You're just like,
so,
I don't know.
That being said, we appreciate everything David Wright has done for the organization. I'm like, yo, you guys ruined it. You know what's funny? I'm a diehard Yankees fan, but I'm not a Mets hater. So that Reyes-Wright combo, I was like, oh, these guys are going to take the Mets into the future. And then it was just
Let me just explain very quickly. There's no reason to be a Mets hater.
Exactly.
When you're the idea that you're a Yankee fan and that you may be a Mets hater, that's like saying, you know what? Yeah, I played D1 basketball, but I'm not mad at intermediate school. Like those guys, they're good. And you're just like,
it's true.
Of course you're not mad at the Mets.
It's true.
Why would you be mad at the Mets?
Oh, because all Yankee fans are terrible. You know that, John. Come on. You know that.
Right. But even that, like everything good that happens to Mets. So I went to so they had been one of the only teams, I think, other than maybe it might be the Padres or somebody, doesn't have a no-hitter. Never had a pitcher throw a no-hitter.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the game.
Santana.
St. Louis, actually. By the way, the 7 train that night coming home, I've never been on a subway train that was smiling before. Like, it was the craziest feeling.
The churro ladies just giving out free churros to everybody.
That was a moment.
But even that, Johan Santana, first of all, there really was, I think, a hit in it that was called an error. But the game, the no-hit saving catch ruined the outfielder who caught it because he smashed into the wall and like broke his shoulder like a kid from New York. And the pitcher, Santana, was never, he throws the no-hitter, and then the day after that, they had to take his arm and send it,
and put it in rice like a wet iPhone.
It was nuts.
Yeah, it was wild. As I was watching that game, after the game, I was like, yo, this guy sacrificed his career to get you guys a no-hitter.
His pitch count was way too high. Way
like 140 pitches.
I saw it.
But, and we all walked out of there like, well worth it. Absolutely glad. I would throw that guy in the volcano again tomorrow.
Let's go. Let's do it.
That's honesty.
To get us that moment.
That's real fandom. And speaking of the blue and orange, there's a very famous GIF reaction of you to a very bad Knicks possession where you're sitting courtside and you're just like, oh, man.
JaVale McGee.
JaVale McGee shooting a 3.
You know what he was shooting? A fadeaway turnaround. the Warriors were playing the Knicks, and I was there with my son.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the Knicks played them. I think in that game, the first half, like the Knicks were just on it, like playing with great energy, just bringing it. And 3 minutes later into the third quarter, they're down by 28. Like it was one of those classic
Knick
Golden
games.
State Warrior. At a certain point, it just got crazy. And so my reaction to that was like, I will accept Curry.
Mm-hmm.
I will accept Draymond Green.
I know where you're going. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah.
They could throw it up from 50 feet. They could throw it up half court.
Mm-hmm.
But when JaVale McGee gets fed down in the post and dribbles out past the arc and does like this weird turnaround jumper and just swishes it was at that point I was just like, well, now you're just clubbing a baby seal. Like this is
this
so
is bad.
That was my point to that. Like, you know what, Klay Thompson wants to cut across and throw himself, you know, a great catch and shoot. Beautiful. You know what? I have great respect for that. I marvel at the artistry. I marvel at the talent. And by the way, when JaVale McGee wants to grab a putback and jam it back, I love that guy. He's got such great energy. He's got such great spirit.
Yeah.
When you start doing 25-foot turnaround, fadeaway jumpers, then I'm like,
that's disrespectful. That's what you're just like, all right, enough.
Yeah, like
disrespectful. My child is here. My son is here.
Game. This isn't a scrimmage.
I'm trying to raise this man,
okay,
to respect other people.
Now we have to have a talk after this game.
And took a dump on our drink cart.
Oh, John,
Very
John,
tough.
and shout out to you. You had oh my God, that book, America, fantastic book, mixed politics and satire. You're continuing that tradition now with the new movie, Irresistible.
Yes, out now.
How you seem to find like it's your wheelhouse is taking parody and politics and kind of putting them together.
Trying to. You go back and forth. I like playing around with different forms. It's interesting you bring up the book. You know, the Daily Show was kind of using the, you know, authority supposedly of news as our structure. And so when we were trying to think about what's a great, you know, we wanted to see if we could translate that to the written form, right? But we were trying to figure out like what type of book has that same kind of gravitas or false authority or whatever they want to do. And so that's where the idea of America as a textbook. So it's sort of this textbook with all the and we actually put out, I think a year later, all the corrections.
Oh, wow.
Historians would come to us and be like, you know, actually that's not. And we're like, of course we know that that's not. But so go ahead and correct it.
What is the takeaway that you want people to take from this movie after they finish watching?
I just want them to have a good time with it. You know, it's like anything else. You just continuing a conversation. I do think there's something to be said for, you know, we continue to have poor leadership and bad outcomes. And we can change leadership and hope for the best, but I think there is something deeper under the system. We've gotten really good at elections and sort of a permanent campaign and all the money that's associated with it, and not good at governing.
Right.
And maybe if the idea is just if we took a little of that energy and focus and momentum and put it towards governance as opposed to you know, the permanent campaign and the constant cable fighting, we might be better off.
Gotcha. How do you feel about like that new blood that's coming into government now? Like AOC, we just recently saw Jamal Bowman crush.
I love it.
You know,
I really think, and you're seeing it the way it's supposed to be, which is ground up, like it's grassroots. And it's, I always say, you know, Donald Trump's going to make America great again, just not in the way that he thought. You know, his presence, and by the way, he's not the be all and end all. He's a symptom of a deeper rot in that party.
Definitely.
But I think he's inspired really talented, enthusiastic, smart, committed individuals to get involved in the public sphere. And I think we're going to bear the fruit of that for many years to come. I think it's a very exciting development.
You've been watching the elections for years. Just a quick, just want to pick your head. What do you think is going to happen next election? Just a spitball.
We'll probably get a president. Probably going to happen around November.
Mm-hmm.
He'll take office in January.
In January.
And anybody who tells you that they know anything else other than that is lying.
That is fair. That is fair.
We do not know. You know, right. It's just one of those that say like, so, you know, and that's what I mean. Like, we're managing Biden and Trump's, you know, motions day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. He said this, it's over. Now the pendulum swings in this direction. Nope. He made this game. You know, we don't know.
Yeah.
I guess in the absence of sports, it's the only thing to watch at this point. But,
right.
You know, I would love to see it just the election cycle condensed. You know what I mean? Do we really need to be talking about this for 3 years? Like, come on. It doesn't give the country any chance for makeup sex. It's just, we always.
At all.
That's true.
It'd be like if the season never ended and you always had your jersey on that, at a certain point, you really would start to hate the other people. Like, not even in a funny sports way, like in a real, like.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
I can't hit the fucking showers, man. You're fucking up everything.
Well, John, we know you are a busy man with a lot of things going on.
Guys, I want to wish you both luck with the air that's going to be blown up your lower intestines and colonoscopies that are coming your way.
Listen, we can't wait. We can't wait. We're looking forward to it. John, listen, every illustrious guest on our show, when they leave, we ask them what their neon sign would say. You know, every bodega in New York has a neon sign. What would your neon sign say?
Lactose-free ice cream.
Boom!
Ooh, wow!
Yeah!
Whoa, whoa.
Lactose-free ice cream. That's what I'm talking about.
John.
Also, shout out to Lactate with the lactate-free sour cream. Yeah.
Yeah,
beautiful things. Beautiful things.
See, this is how people come together over digestive issues.
Exactly.
You know, if we could just stop for a moment and realize all of us get a little agita.
Exactly. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart,
for coming through, John.
Thank you.